Karen used a word I hadn't expected. "Mr. Gerald, this is consistent with elder financial abuse. Would you like me to connect you with our investigations team?" I said yes. Then I called a lawyer. Then I waited for Christmas. When Carolyn made her announcement at dinner, she'd been building to it for weeks. The gentle comments about my memory, the concerned looks exchanged with her husband across the table, the way she'd started finishing my sentences, sighing when I repeated a story. She'd been constructing a version of me, confused, fragile, unreliable, so that when she finally said it, dementia at a table full of family, everyone would already half believe it. What she didn't know was that I'd been building something too. I stood up. I placed the bank statements on the table in front of her. I read out every transfer, date, amount, destination account, all 11 of them. Then I asked her one question. "Carolyn, in your own words, where did this money go?" She said I was confused, said the transfers were for my care expenses, said I'd authorized everything and simply didn't remember. So I placed the bank's access log beside the statements. The device that made every transfer, the IP address, the timestamp, none of it matching anything in my home. "Try again," I said. She started crying. Her husband put his hand on her arm. My nephew, who is an RCMP officer, quietly left the table and stepped into the hallway. He was on his phone for a long time. Carolyn was charged in February, 11 counts of fraud. The bank recovered $61,000. The remainder is subject to a civil claim that her lawyer says could take years. She hasn't spoken to me since Christmas dinner. I think about Margaret, about how Carolyn held her hand every day in that hospital, about the little girl who used to fall asleep in the car on the way home from the lake. I don't know when she changed. Maybe she didn't change. Maybe I just never looked closely enough. What I know is this: grief makes us vulnerable. And there are people, even people we raised, people we love, who will use that vulnerability like a tool. Don't let them. Check your statements. Know your numbers. And never ever let anyone convince you that you are less than what you are. I built bridges for 34 years. I'm still standing on one. My daughter announced I had dementia at Christmas dinner. 14 family members. Turkey on the table. Candles still burning. She said it calmly, the way you'd mention the weather. "Dad's been forgetting things. The doctors are concerned. We think it's time we talked about his care." Everyone looked at me. I looked at her. Then I reached into my jacket pocket, unfolded 3 pages of bank statements, and stood up. "Before we talk about my care," I said, "I'd like to talk about $87,000. The room went very quiet. "My name is Gerald. I'm 71 years old. I spent 34 years as a civil engineer with the city of Winnipeg before I retired. I designed bridges, actual bridges, structures that had to hold weight, withstand pressure, and last for generations. I know how things are built. I also know exactly how they collapse. My wife Margaret passed away 18 months ago. Breast cancer, 11 months from diagnosis to the end. The fastest, slowest year of my life. After she died, my daughter Carolyn started calling every day, visiting every weekend, bringing groceries, organizing my medications, offering to help manage my finances. You've got enough to worry about, Dad. Let me handle the paperwork. I was grieving. I was tired. I said yes. That was my first mistake. 3 months ago, I couldn't sleep. 3 a.m., sitting at the kitchen table, I pulled out my bank statements for the first time since Margaret died. I always let her handle the filing. 42 years of marriage, that was her department. Mine was the structural calculations. Hers was everything that kept the house actually running. I sat there in the dark reading numbers that didn't make sense. My savings account had dropped from $340,000 to $253,000 in 14 months. I read it 3 times. Then I got my glasses. Still $253,000. I went through every transaction. Most were normal. Utilities, groceries, my pension deposits coming in. But scattered between them, 11 transfers. All to the same account. Amounts between $6,000 and $12,000, always on a Friday. Always while Carolyn had been visiting that week. I'd given her my online banking password so she could help pay bills after Margaret died. She'd been using it for something else entirely. I didn't call her. I didn't confront her. I did what any engineer does when he suspects structural failure. I documented everything first. I printed every statement going back 14 months. I cross-referenced every suspicious transfer with my calendar, the small notebook I've kept for 30 years. Every appointment, every visitor, every phone call written in pencil. Every single transfer had happened within 4 days of Carolyn's visits. I called my bank. Spoke to a fraud specialist named, Karen, who walked me through the account access logs. Every transfer had been initiated from a device that wasn't mine.